Pregnancies are often people try to keep them secret, which of course can lead to some very serious problems when you're not having the kinds of, especially in advanced pregnancies, and fetal development when you're working with chemicals and you're trying to keep this pregnancy secret. In the case of unwanted pregnancies, despite the fact that abortion is legal in Canada and many women express a desire to have an abortion, they can't, it's really, really challenging to access abortion in Canada, despite the fact that they do qualify. Partly just because most of the clinics are in Toronto, or the nearest clinic for them would be in Toronto, and getting here and the time that it would take and wanting to keep it a secret for good reasons is really problematic. So one of the things that I've encountered that's quite concerning is that a lot of women are bringing a drug from Mexico called misoprostol, which is a drug that is used for a variety of things, but it is something that can induce a miscarriage. And it is used in medication abortions in Canada, but if it's not used properly, it can be extremely dangerous and cause very serious complications like uterine rupture. And sometimes what happens is that the pregnancy is not miscarried, and in these cases it can cause very serious birth defects when the child is born. So these are some of the things that I think are extremely concerning and that women as well find quite concerning. So I think I'm going to end it there, and if there are any more questions later, I'm happy to answer them.
Hi, I'm from Canadian HART. As previously introduced, Canadian HART continues to advocate for internally displaced person, and we currently have a delegation in Indonesia to advocate for human rights of the 254 Tamils, asylum seekers, and refugees in Indonesia. I'm here today to ensure that the sufferings and the trauma that my fellow sisters, Tamil sisters, go through are heard by all of you here today. And the horrifying treatments of my Tamil sisters are oftentimes silenced, and this I find is a great opportunity to share with the rest of you here and to make sure their voices are heard. Make the Tamil woman the feast of our army while letting the men's blood drip into a Red Sea. This was said by the Sri Lankan Defense Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa during a speech while addressing to the armed forces. The Sri Lankan Secretary forces are using systematic rape and murder of Tamil women to subjugate the Tamil population. Impunity continues to reside as rape, murder of Tamil women, and impunity continues to reside as the rape of Tamil women on a massive scale, including girls, happen in Sri Lanka. And reporting these rapes leads to retaliation against the victims and their families. And the sad truth is that the same forces and the police that represent law and order are the ones are doing the raping, torturing, and murdering of these Tamil women. So many years of genocidal war has left deep scars in the minds and bodies of Tamil women who suffer physical, sexual, and psychological abuse. They have fallen victims to discrete government-run forces, sterilization and abortion, abduction, torture, and rape and murder assault from government-backed riots as well. As a result, records indicate a steady decline of the Tamil population. The Tamil culture does not emphasize the active participation of women in combat. However, the growing national oppression brought about a situation where women were forced to take up arms to ensure their safety. Women were involved in spying, political work, first aid, nursing, and medical help at the front lines. As time went on, they participated in combat along with men, and they were trained in military combat. Initially, the military recruits were girls who were from families affected by the war. And in some cases, it was personal experience motivating them to actually enter combat. These realities that I'm about to share with you today of the war was shared with me by a Tamil woman who saw these horrific situations in Sri Lanka herself. There was other victims of war. One was the casualty of a newborn child. The mother, a friend of mine, was pregnant by her first baby. She did not travel to see a doctor as there was heavy shelling in the hospital. Even the time she did, she was not able to get treatment as the hospital was targeted. She returned back. We used to help out with displaced together. One day when she was 9 months pregnant, she told me that she was feeling pain and that she was urinating frequently. She told me that it could be because the baby was getting bigger. But what happened was that her water bag cracked open and she delivered the baby 4 days after it was dead in the mother's womb. This, I believe, is a casualty of war. On the road, I would meet people whom I had earlier met at the displaced camps, and we exchanged regards on the road. They would utter stories of shell attacks, of how their family members were wounded. It was a common story that many men were dying due to shelling, leaving many pregnant mothers as widows. It was very hurting to realize that the land was going to have many children whom had not seen the faces of their fathers. As she choked back on her tears, she continued telling me stories of dreadful stories of the death of a female political prisoner. On the morning of the 15th, I saw a girl who reads the news on Tamil Ilam National Television. She was an actor, a poem writer, and a newsreader. She gave birth to a baby in December 2009 and lost the baby to an illness and shortage of medicines in April 2009. That was the last time I saw her on the 15th. The next time I saw her was on the internet sitting at home, a photo of her dead body in an unimaginably horrific state. Her cousin who lives in India says that she had phoned him from a camp in Bavinia in late May or early June and told them that she and her sister were in the camps. He only saw a photo of her on the internet and found out that she was dead. No matter what her political affiliations are, she's a political prisoner, she's a woman, and she's a human who deserves dignity. Her sister's whereabouts are still unknown. The Geneva Convention of Treatment of Prisoners of War states that prisoners of war are entitled to respect for their persons and honor. Women shall be treated with all consideration due to their sex. Prisoners retain their full civil capacity. Despite the Geneva Convention, the horrific treatment of the Tamil women prisoners of war are very common in Sri Lanka. They are raped, assaulted, murdered, and tortured. Many of the prisoners of war have vanished without a trace, and their families do not know about their whereabouts. The concentration camps in Sri Lanka, in where many Tamils are found to stay, are by no means to the standard of the Geneva Convention. Tamil refugees displaced by the war have been rounded up and held against their will in 30 government-run camps in the north. Human rights agencies have reported food, water, and medicine storage and malnutrition among internees. Tamil sources have reported deaths and starvation in the concentration camps. There have been widespread allegations at the systematic rape and sexual abuse of Tamil women and children. Kumar, a biomedical graduate, was in one of these camps in May, and she had described it as a concentration camp. And she stayed there along with 300,000 Tamil civilians. She had witnessed many sexual abuse of women who actually go out to see their relatives, and it's very open, but the women and the girls are afraid to speak up about this because they know very well what will happen to them if they do.